Oh, he's looking for the scene.
I'm like, you're asking the wrong people, man.
You should have been like, it's me.
That's your event, man, not ours. Dude, the best part is, Ed, so you were supposed to be the one, I think, that signed that like thing, that release that says you can't stream the video.
Yeah.
So we walked over there, and like you were already in here filming. This is the best part. And they were like, oh, you don't even need to sign that. And we're like, oh, well, we got a guy filming. They're like, oh yeah, you should sign that. You could have walked in and like not signed any legal documents. It was so badly done.
Wait, you went to check in again today?
This is yesterday, man. You were like already in the building, and like they like hadn't got any of our signed shit from us yet. They didn't even ask for it. We like gave it to them.
What's that?
Oh, okay. You got like a little thing up there, and you got that.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, so I got both going on at the exact same time.
I thought this was like a camera control thing or something going on.
Oh, no. I got
your feed.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like that.
Thanks. How's it going, folks? happened? Oh, I'm sorry.
I saw who's on this list.
Who's on the list of what? Oh yeah, Symone Sanders. Yeah.
You should be
You can't say it's not going to be interesting, right?
Welcome to Politicon 3. A lot of people were here yesterday. Were you here yesterday? You may have seen already Symone did a couple panels yesterday.
Should be somewhere.
Great to be with Chelsea and I just want to say the first year we did this, we had a couple hundred tickets sold a month ago. We ended up with a couple thousand people. Last year we had about 8,000 people. I think we have about 10,000 this year. So thank you for coming to Politicon. Thank you. This is a big success. Another person who's making this event a success is Tomi. This is his third. It's your third Politicon. And they refer to him as the MVP of Politicon. Tomi is hosting Binge Worthy on the People TV network. Is that right? And I like, by the way, the light color, the dark color. This really works. This debate. I like this. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Can y'all hear me? All right. Thank you all for being here. You made the right choice. This will surely be one of the greatest events of this Politicon, but it's going to be a substantive conversation about the issues, right, ladies?
Okay, I love the issues.
The way that we're going to do this is I'm going to throw out a question. One of them will have a chance to take it up. The other one will respond. If the other one wants to re-respond, then she can do that. We're going to try to avoid more than 4 whacks at one apple, but that might happen. I'm going to try to stay out of the conversation as much as I can and let these ladies talk. If you want to address each other, you can. Let's try to keep it civil as possible. It's an intellectual forum.
We're civil people.
You sure are. You sure are. Tomi, you're on my left. We can start with you. Is it better to fix Obamacare or repeal it and start over with one of the plans that the Republicans have been unable to pass?
My ideal would be repeal now, have a 2-year sunset period in which they need to get something together. I think repeal and then eventually replace. I'm not happy with the House's bill. I'm not happy with the Senate bill. I think we can do better. I do. But this morning I was watching the Fox News and Nancy Pelosi was on, and she expressed that she didn't really have a desire to work with Republicans to fix Obamacare. So I'm okay, as I sit here as a Trump supporter and Republican, I'm okay with fixing Obamacare, but if the Democrats are not willing to concede anything, how can you fix it? We understand it's broken, so what do we do at this point? Both sides need to come to the table, but I didn't hear that from Nancy Pelosi this morning at all.
Well, I read the transcript from the Nancy Pelosi interview with Chris Wallace on Fox News, and she absolutely said the Democrats are ready to work with Republicans on fixing, but not repealing in any other type of way. So I don't know what interview you watched. The question is, should we fix Obamacare or repeal it? Look, if Republicans really wanted to repeal and replace Obamacare, they have been running on it for 7 years. They have the White House. Because the majority of people wanted fixes to Obamacare. People like their insurance. People like the fact that folks are able to stay on their parents' insurance till they're 26. So, I think we are now that both sides should be willing to come to the table to find something that works for the American people.
I respect that, and I agree, because I've been tough on the Republicans because I believe that they have not done their job. They did run on it for 7 years, and they took in a lot of campaign dollars running on that, so they failed us, and I'm the first one to say it. I'm disappointed. Now, we probably align differently because I think that they should have voted to repeal. I do, but speaking to what Nancy Pelosi said, she can say, I want to work with Republicans. You can say that all day long, but when she was asked in what areas are you willing to make sacrifices, in what areas you're willing to cut down the open-ended entitlement program that Obamacare has become, and she's not willing to do those things. Nothing is on the table. You can say all day, I'm going to work with someone, but if you're not willing to give up anything, we're not going to get anywhere.
That brings premiums down, another solution that introduces more competition into the market, where Democrats are not willing to concede or work with folks, if you will, is like, I don't think a vagina should be a pre-existing condition. I think for a really long time that they have something and they snatch it away. And so it wouldn't be popular for the Republicans or the Democrats either to come to the table and say, well, we're just going to snatch away everything that you've been,
But also, what about those people that effectively did have it snatched away with Obamacare? There's a difference between Obamacare has been a failure. It's in a death spiral. I think you and I both agree.
Donald Trump is putting it in a death spiral.
No.
Clear.
Donald Trump did not do that. President Obama and the Democrats that ramrodded Obamacare through, they did that. The death spiral was not created in the last 6 months.
All I'll say is there was a very public debate about the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare, for about 2 years. President Obama himself went around, held town halls all across this country explaining his bill to people. There were hundreds of amendments. The Republicans tried to ram healthcare through in 6 months. So, if you want to talk about ramming the bill through, Exhibit A is your current Republican Congress. What's next?
Maybe more on the president than the actual policy. The president is now saying, let Obamacare fail with all the attendant pain that that would bring to people, and then we'll figure it out. Is that okay for a president to say?
I don't think it's okay, but I'll give you a data point that's not popular. Priorities USA recently came out with some polling, the first polling on how the electorate would react if, with the president saying, let's just let Obamacare implode, and overwhelmingly over 50% of voters, Republicans and Democrats, do not agree. So it's not a popular position. Again, people fought this healthcare bill. This healthcare bill that the Senate put forward was extremely unpopular with the Republican voters as well. So I don't think that's a smart decision. As the president and Republicans in Congress, they now own this thing called healthcare. So the voters are going to blame them for the failures and the successes.
And to your point, I agree with you on that, and that's why I feel tough on Republicans. But moving forward, when we're talking about repealing or replacing, you're saying the American people have spoken, you're speaking to polls. I understand poll numbers, and in some ways I do agree with some of those numbers. However, I think it's also important to note that elections have consequences. The American people spoke in 2010, 2012, and 2016. They said, we don't want Obamacare. That's why in many ways, even conservatives that didn't like Donald Trump, they said, I don't want Obamacare anymore. The map is clear indication is something Republicans need to own. And I do think that there are some Republicans who would rather watch this president fail than do something about it. And I'm going to hold those Republicans to feet because we elected them to do their job. So we want different results, but I'm not sitting here saying, oh, the Republicans have done their job. No, they have not. And they're letting this president down. They're letting the American people down.
Congress, why is the GOP struggling to get any significant legislation passed?
I think I just spoke to that. There is still a problem. There are still factions within the GOP. You've got a president who's not GOP establishment by any means, and you still have some, even though I admire John McCain, you still have some that are stuck in their old ways, and they do not want to come to the table. part of it. For me, it's bitterness over the direction that the party has taken. They don't like President Trump. They didn't want President Trump, so they're going to do whatever they can to make sure he's a failure. And I think as Republicans, that's not what we elected them to do. Many of them rode in on the coattails of President Donald Trump, and now they're sitting back saying, we're not going to support his agenda. American people are not going to be happy about that. They're going to speak to that, and they're going to get primaried, and they're going to lose.
Why is the GOP struggling to get significant legislation passed?
I think the GOP is struggling one because, you have folks in Congress and people in the White House are not on the same page. And while I do not like to give out free advice, but I will say that the president and the president's advisors and his supporters are always talking about his base. And I think it's really important that Donald Trump understand his base is now Congress. And Congress, they understand how this works. Donald Trump has yet to acclimate himself to the ways in which DC works. And I understand folks electing an outsider and wanting something new and different, but there's still some type of framework you have to operate within. And the GOP has not been able to get on the same page. The president has put artificial timelines and artificial deadlines in front of this Congress that make no sense. Deadlines that they would never be able to meet in a million years, and that's why you don't have any major piece of legislation signed under this president in the first 6 months.
Talking about some of the problems with the Republican Party and why they're struggling to pass things, even though they control the House, the Senate, and the White House. But as we say that, Democrats are shut out of all three major branches. Symone, first to you. What is wrong with the Democratic Party right now?
I just did a panel about this. I think what's wrong with, I think the party needs to get on the same page. And so I think that just like in the GOP, there are warring fractions within the Democratic Party. I think you just recently saw the party go get on one accord when it came to healthcare. Chuck Schumer held his caucus together. Nancy Pelosi held the caucus together. And I think the future of the Democratic Party, how Democrats move forward, is we have to find what works. What is it that we stand for? Because if you ask folks out there, you'll get various messages. The Democrats want to be the party of working people. There are a lot of working people right now that wouldn't say that that's who they think represents them. So I think it's incumbent upon the party to stand up and make sure we are actively telling people what it is we stand for, who it is we are, and they're backing that up with action.
What's wrong with the Democratic Party?
And you know what? You and I are in absolute agreement on that. For me,
Write this down, y'all.
when the American people, left, right, center, it doesn't matter, when they hear Democrats day in, day out, all they want to do is resist Trump, all that they ran on is we don't like Trump, then they don't have a message. And whereas Trump went to those states in the Rust Belt and he spoke to working people, he said, I'm here for you. I'm here for the forgotten American. I'm here for the silent majority. And where are the Democrats? Shoot off fireworks, and she was not paying attention to those Americans that feel forgotten. And I think that that's why we saw President Trump turn some that we call Trumpocrats over to vote for him, because they said, you know what, I don't think the Democrats are speaking for us anymore. What is their agenda? And I have to say, as much as I don't believe Republicans in Congress are doing a great job right now, I agree with you on that, I also don't think the Democrats, just last week they came out with their better deal, when it reads, first of all, it reads a lot like what President Trump promised, but in action, I don't really know what their agenda is. I just hear about Russia, 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 and climate change. And that does not make an agenda.
And when we were on a panel, it was literally just on this stage, and I was saying that, in a 24-hour news cycle, all you hear, because it's, sexy on the news, is Russia, 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 Russia. And you don't hear, like, a better deal doesn't break through because, whether folks like it or not, believe it or not, people are still watching cable television. And because people are still watching cable television, when they turn it on, all they see is Russia, and the better deal doesn't break through because folks aren't on television talking about a better deal. But I will say that these Trumpocrats that you talked about, we like to refer to them as Obama-Trump voters. And those are folks that pulled the lever for Obama in 12, maybe 08, but pulled the lever for Trump in 2016. That accounts for 8% of the electorate in 2016. That's a large number, given everybody that voted, but it's only 8%. The Democrats didn't just lose because these Obama-Trump voters voted for Donald Trump. The Democrats lost in 2016 because we failed to effectively turn out our base. Across Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ohio, there was about 100,000 votes that had Democrats made up, had black people went to the polls and pulled the left for Hillary Clinton. She would be the president right now. So remember, it's not these Obama-Trump, it's really important to get these persuadable voters back, people that work for the party that don't feel like the party represents them now. We need to speak to them. We also need to speak to the
lot of people say that part of the problem of the Democratic Party is too much of a focus on identity politics. Is that a big problem for the Democratic Party?
I think absolutely. I think that Hillary's loss demonstrates that time and time again, but I still see it. And I think that they're learning. I really do. Chuck Schumer said just the other day, and I actually agree with Chuck Schumer on something. He said, we can't just run again on, Hillary ran on James Comey and being anti-Trump. So I agree, but with him. But I still think that there's a large portion of the Democratic Party that does run on identity politics. It's you versus you versus you. It's taking all the issues, making it women against men, making straight against gay, black against white. It's about dividing everybody. It's about we are your advocate, but they don't like you, and Republicans don't like you, and it's all Trump is mean, and it's back and forth.
He is mean. Let's be clear. He's mean. Be clear. What Donald Trump did is he ran on identity politics for white people. Donald Trump is a populist. To be clear, there are many forms of populism. Populism is, I'm going to give you all a lesson. Populism is a thin ideology mixed with a thick ideology always. So Donald Trump mixes populism with ethnocentrism, with racism, a little bit of the economy.
What do you say
used to combat war.
That's correct. No. The Muslim ban is not effective, and let me tell you why. People are like, oh, the countries that attacked us on 9/11. None of the countries that supposedly attacked us on 9/11 are part of the quote-unquote Muslim ban.
Themselves into 6 countries, that's quite a feat. Because if we're not India, it's a Muslim ban, people would get included as well.
They're joining Muslim countries.
They are, they're also jihadist war-torn countries that we can take. Everything's cool there. Libya, yeah, everything's flying nice there. No, there's problems. And if you really want to be, not only that, when you have a 90-day travel ban, when you say, I think we need to take 90 days to make sure that those people coming into our country are coming here for good purposes, we need to make sure we get extreme vetting in place, and it's going to take 90 days. I don't think a little bit of inconvenience for 90 days, I don't think that the sentiment, if you say one American life, and you say we need to take a pause for 90 days, we need to take a pause for 120 days, I'm okay with that if we're going to save American lives.
On Monday morning, what would you do?
First of all, I'm impressed with the pick. I like General Kelly. I do. So I would rather him than me. But for me, I think that he made a good choice. And I think I would do much of the things that I hope that General Kelly is going to do, which is secure the leagues, make sure that everybody's in line, make sure everything's effective. When you have someone like General Kelly who has a presence, who people listen to and respect, that's what the White House so desperately needs right now, is someone to rein everyone in. Before you had those from the GOP establishment, and I think what that was an attempt to reach out to the establishment, even though President Trump is not an establishment candidate, and reach out and say, okay, we're going to put some in the administration, we're going to ease the fears of some establishment Republicans. And I think that Donald Trump found out that that was not successful. And so if something's not working, you're not getting your agenda passed, you switch things up, you put someone else in control, and I'm hoping for the best. And I think if anyone can do it, it's going to be General Kelly.
If you were the chief of staff, would Anthony Scaramucci continue to work in the White House?
I understand that people are offended by what he said. I don't see what he said, I don't read what he said, and I don't think that it's appropriate. I don't think everything that Donald Trump says is appropriate, but here's the thing. We have to also remember that Anthony Scaramucci was also a liberal Democrat before he was working with President Trump. So the fact that, to me, the fact that President Trump is going to put people around him that might not be your typical hardline conservative, I think as a businessman, he puts people that are effective, and I think he finds that Anthony is effective.
But the question is not Scaramucci's policies, right? He scrubbed his Twitter to talk about his policy differences than the president. The question is about the way that he's communicating with the president, not what he believes. And whether or not he was a liberal before is not the point. That he's.
But for me, it is about policy. It's about effectiveness. So I can get past the things that he said if he's effective. Because it's not all about, well, he said something and it offended me. You know what? We're going to be successful, we're going to be effective in that role. I can look past the things that he said. Because for me, it's not about, well, the words and the tweets. I get it. It makes people uncomfortable. At the end of the day, people care about action, they care about effectiveness.
And I mean, I guess in terms of effectiveness, I've worked 15 different campaigns, including the presidential, and I've worked for state delegates, senators, whoever. And when you have a communications director, the role of the communications director is to set a communications, you need to put together a communications plan that effectively communicates your agenda to whoever you're talking about. So the White House is the American people and Congress. And the problem with Anthony Scaramucci is, one, he don't have no communications experience. But two, I don't think he's the person that can effectively put forward that plan. So regardless if he has different views and folks want to laud the president for bringing people that have views different from his, he is not qualified to do the job that is required. And he has not shown himself qualified over the last week, and I'm speaking as a communications professional. I wouldn't be working there. I don't even go to the White House. Not now. You gotta ask me something else already. My president is still black. In my opinion.
Is that effective for them as an administration?
It's not effective, but I also don't think it's real. One thing Donald Trump does is he has an uncanny command of how to manipulate the media. So much so that he literally attacks and demonizes the New York Times on a regular basis, but then he brings the New York Times in on a regular basis to also give them exclusive interviews to get his message out. So, which is like, what is going on? So, I don't think it's effective, and I wonder how long we can keep up. Remember, it's only been a little over 6 months. So, we cannot continue at this pace, and I don't think the media can continue at this pace, but what it's incumbent upon the media to do is they have to get a baseline and stand strong. So when certain outlets are being locked out of a press briefing, but other cameras continue to go in, that's not an effective strategy if you really like a White House that absolutely, treats the media with some level of respect, and then the media that also treats the president.
So are you saying that the media should be more unified? If the Washington Post is shut out, then the New York Times will also boycott? Is that what you're suggesting?
Something like that. They should at least ask questions. I remember during the Obama administration when Fox News was shut out. I can't remember what they were shut out of. They were shut out. And they were journalists from CNN, ABC, and NBC who stood up and asked questions, saying these are our colleagues. They deserve to be here too, and we as the White House press corps will not stand for this. That is what we need to see now from this White House press corps.
On media, is it effective?
I do think it's effective because here's what it is. When you have a media that's made up of Democrats, that's run by Democrats, that hire Democrats, that have a liberal ideology, and then you expect a voice for this administration, you expect a voice for conservatives, no damn wonder there's just Fox News. I mean, when you have all the outlets and all they do, like I said, talk about Russia all day long. And then they say, oh, well, Donald Trump is mean to us. Well, all you do is try to torpedo this president on a daily basis. That's all they do.
If the president of the United States is not successful, I think we as a whole are not successful. So I think at the base of it, no one would say that, not even I am saying I want Donald Trump to fail. That has never come out of my mouth, and I'm not going to say that. But I think the problem is the issues that Donald Trump has encountered are issues that he brought upon himself. So I'm not telling him not to ever use Twitter, but when, the reason Bob Mueller exists as a special counsel is because he fired James Tomi and went on to talk about tapes, and so he's bringing these things upon himself. And if you're asserting that the press should not report on the things that the president says or tweets when he, as the president, your words matter, I'm just not sure how you can square that up.
I want to speak to your point in James Comey because I think it's an important point to make as well. When you've got James Comey running to the media and leaking information to start an investigation, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable.
on my team documents. Leaks, you hate the leaks as a conversation because you're like, man, can y'all just come talk to us? Instead of leaking to the media? Why are y'all over there talking to, so-and-so from the New York Times? But I do think that what James Comey did, and he also had a masterful understanding of the media and of the Justice Department at large, because he knew that by putting that information out there, putting it out there, saying that he has recorded these memos, which were not classified documents, which were documents that he wrote that he was the owner of. They weren't classified, dear. You can check. He was trying to essentially save the republic, because had James Comey not done that, we wouldn't know some of the things that we do right now. So I'm not encouraging leaks, but I think there's a difference between leaks and whistleblowers, and we can have that conversation. Come on, Robert's rules.
No, I hear conservatives quite often say the media is all Democratic and not note the #1 cable news network for many years is Fox, right? The #1 radio talk show is Rush Limbaugh for many.
There's one. What I'm saying is, there is Fox News, there is Rush Limbaugh. There are those that do speak on radio. I'm not saying that there aren't conservatives.
There is a significant right media apparatus.
Can I answer your question? Here's the thing. I'm not going to sit up here. I would not sit here and be an anchor on CNN or elsewhere, because I clearly have viewpoints that I'm more than willing to express. It's unabashed. For me, my values are going to come out. However, when CNN sits there and Anderson Cooper sits there and pretends like he's not biased and he's neutral and he just wants to report the news, bullshit. That's not the case.
From the administration, he just did an interview with Scaramucci that was super. He just wanted to have a conversation and get the facts. So what makes you say that? Because I think we can talk about some other outlets that maybe skew a little farther to the left. But to say that, Fox News is clearly Sean Hannity does the exit interviews for the White House. So we clearly understand that we clearly know that he's not reporting the news. So I want to talk about reporting the news, because the news doesn't mean you're biased. I'm a political commentator, so I'm allowed to have an opinion. Anderson Cooper doesn't have an opinion. So tell me what specifically about Anderson Cooper or anybody else makes you feel that way.
When you turn on TV and you hear them report about the same story, Russia, do you think that that's really because they want the American people to know, or do you think that this point they're doing everything that they can to push the Russia story?
I think it's because of newsy. I would prefer that we don't talk as much about Russia, but I think news outlets talk about Russia because it's newsy, and the news is run on this newsy now.
But they still found no evidence, and we continue to talk about it over and over and over again. Why are we talking about what's going on in Venezuela? Why are we not talking about American jobs? People like Donna Brazil. You have people like George
Don't talk about while I'm sitting here. Just be
Do you think what Donna Brazil did? Do you think that is not completely and totally reckless and inappropriate?
I think I don't know what you're referring to.
Okay, let's discuss it.
I think you need to be clear. I think you need not talk vaguely, and I think you need to be specific when you ask me a question.
It directly impacted the candidate that you worked for. So I would think that Donna Brazil giving Hillary a little extra big questions, I would think you would take an issue with that. I would think that you would say that's clearly not okay.
That she talks about this in, so I'm not going to speak necessarily for her, but she has said that she regrets that was wrong for her to do. But I also think you need to understand the history of who Donna Brazile is. Donna Brazile was the first African-American woman to lead a presidential campaign as the campaign manager. And thanks to her and lots of other women like her, I have the ability to sit on this stage today. So we can talk about this song and done something wrong, that's absolutely fair, but you gotta know your history before you come to attack folks that have literally built bridges. I
good. Not yet.
I don't see any other award-winning journalists on this stage, so let's move on.
I want to move on from the specific point, but broaden it a little bit. Is CNN fake news?
Dossier that BuzzFeed reported that was complete BS, and I see CNN run with that as their story and try to push that. I look at it and I'm like, that's not even, that's unnamed sources. They do it time and time and time again, and that was the first inkling of it, and it continues to happen. You have unnamed sources, and you continue to talk about the same narrative over and over again. Yeah, and in some ways, are some of the things that they're saying factual and true? I'm sure, but like I'm saying, when you talk about the same topic over and over and over again, you don't talk about anything else. I don't call that news. I call that just one issue station.
So Tomi, you had a show. So Tomi, when you did your show, you would talk about the things that were newsy in the news. You would also talk about, I've seen your show, you would also talk about some other issues, but you would talk about what was in the news cycle and what was newsy. So were people lambasting you about talking about the same issue when it was relevant to the times? And so I think what you don't like is that Russia is still out there in the news, and we can talk specifically about if Russia is something that our news media should be covering and acknowledging the way that it is. I absolutely think that we could just let up a little bit on Russia and talk about some other issues.
I want to hear about a better way.
Absolutely. But to assert that like news, to say that CNN is fake news, I think is damaging, not just to that network, but to the journalism as a whole, because you are sowing distrust of the media.
The media is showing distrust by its own hand.
To me, you keep fixating on the notion that they are fixated on one issue. But clearly, the question, not the assertion, but the question of whether our number one enemy for decades had a collusive relationship with the winning presidential candidate.
You can't say that. You can't say they had
I think we asked the question, and we're exploring the question. Is that not a gigantic story just to try to explore the question? I mean,
So they've been doing this for over a year now, and there's still no evidence. So I'm asking, when are we going to talk about the things American people care about? Like a better deal. I want to hear what the Democrats have to say. I do. I want to see them have a platform in general. I mean, when you don't have an agenda, you talk about Russia all the time.
So neither Tomi nor I were alive during Watergate. I think that's it. We weren't alive. But during Watergate, if you look at public polling from Gallup, the American people, quote unquote, didn't care about the Watergate issue, the Watergate scandal, then either. It was only once Nixon resigned did it show up as a quote unquote electoral issue, did it start showing up at the polls. So I would like to present that sometimes it is incumbent upon the news media, print journalism, the media in general, to talk about some things that perhaps, or to cover things that perhaps the American people don't necessarily feel support for them. There are people way back when that didn't feel like the civil rights movement was important to cover. You get what I'm saying? So like when there are times when perhaps the American people are not acknowledging the large or the right side of the issue.
Here's another thing, and I know that the election is over. I'm well
love to
aware
talk
that
about something else
every day it makes me so very happy. But beyond that, if we watch CNN after the election, because there are things the American people need to know, right? Like when Hillary Clinton deletes 33,000 emails, but somehow that was nothing for her. When Loretta Lynch met with Bill Clinton in a private plane,
They covered
that was
more.
nothing.
They had the plan on the target on television. They covered the plan wall to wall.
I just said, you're smart for a day. What I'm saying is, you're saying it's going on 6 months. And the Democrats had the same assertion. They have the same, no, I want to speak to this. The Democrats had the same thing. They're like, why you guys keep talking about Hillary's emails? And we were saying we think it's important. They said, why do you keep talking about Benghazi? We think it's important.
And they covered it and they ran it into the ground.
Russia is important. Russia is important, but Benghazi wasn't important. Hillary's emails weren't important. The Clinton Foundation wasn't
Sometimes the media covers things that are quote unquote newsy because it's newsy and it's good for ratings. Two, sometimes the media covers things because they want to uncover some things for the American people and they think it's important, the American people don't think it's important. And then sometimes the media ends up covering things that people think are important and everybody else thinks it's important. I didn't think Benghazi was a thing past like 8 years ago, but guess what? They covered it. Ad nauseam. I didn't think the emails were a thing, but they
respect. And finally, they have a president that's giving them respect for his party.
I don't think she answered the question. The president on the stage the other day in front of law enforcement, and I asked him about, look, police officers put their line on life every single day. They go out there in situations that some of us would never dream to step out our front door in front of. And they should be lauded, applauded, and supported. Okay, they need funding, all of these things. But we cannot ignore the fact that there are some bad apples, there are some problems, there are some systemic issues within our justice system. And when we talk about justice system, that includes the police department. So what the President of the United States did the other day was he was on a stage and he encouraged officers to rough up criminals as they were being arrested. And I would like to say that there were police departments across this country that stood up and said, that is not who we are, that is not who we tell our officers to do. That exist within our juvenile justice systems, and there would be a disproportionate amount of black and brown people that come in contact with law enforcement. And so, me listening to that seemed as though the President of the United States was like literally giving police officers a green light to rough up folks, and the majority of those folks would be black and brown people because those are the majority of people that
to rough up young black kids. They're really going to serve that.
If they're getting arrested by the police, yeah, because that's what he said.
He said, I want to bring the phone. He said.
Somebody give me my phone. Give me my cell phone, please. But I think the bigger problem, so whether we can argue over the semantics of what Donald Trump said or didn't say on the stage, but I think the bigger problem, the bigger question, I guess, on the table is, like law enforcement's relationship. We talk a lot about police-community relations in this country. And again, I have said, I believe police officers are putting their lives on the line, but we clearly need reform in some spaces. Like, we have to rethink what it means to be safe in some communities. What about Southeast DC makes you think you need police officers on every corner, but in Georgetown, I don't see a cop car out of nowhere.
Police officers go to areas where the crime is. They don't go to areas. They're not there because the coffee's good.
I knew it was going to be. You ask people who have an exorbitant amount of police officers in their community, they'll tell you an exorbitant amount of officers doesn't necessarily make them feel safe. People that live in this every day, they can say it doesn't make them feel safe. So I would present that we need to kind of think about this differently, and our officers need more resources, they need better training, they need lots of things.
There is no one that cares more about rooting out bad apples than police officers themselves, because bad apples make their job incredibly difficult. There is no one other than police officers who know what I know. People don't want racist officers. They don't want people over there doing bad things. They don't want crooked cops. Police officers don't want that. That makes them more dangerous. Absolutely not. But to say, I want to know what reform you're speaking to. Are we talking about body cameras? Are we talking about better police relations?
Police officers need more resources. They need more training, actually. Because in turn, they need more training. Because I know officers that have told me they sit in the training that talks about de-escalation for maybe a day and a half, and they spend other times on additional training. So we're putting a lot on our officers. Like, we're expecting them to be like babysitters, we're expecting them to be people that keep us safe, we're expecting them to be counselors, all these other things. But they need additional resources. Our communities need additional resources. But when you have instances such as Philando Castile, for example, who was shot and killed literally on Facebook Live by a police officer. He was murdered by a police officer, and his killer walks free. I don't know how you square that away with people who look like me. Black and brown people in America need to know that they're safe. Need to know that police departments across the country are allies with them. Need to know that the justice system will work for them.
Very outspoken about Philando Castile. Democrats, many, and not you in particular, but there are some that say that we have to be distrustful of the police. That the police we need better reform, we don't trust the police, they don't make us feel safe. And then those are the same people that say, yeah, but citizens shouldn't be able to arm themselves, shouldn't have the Second Amendment. But they want to rely on police officers who they think are crooked, but then they don't want to arm the citizens to empower and protect themselves. We're with an organization that we're actually very close to called Black Guns Matter, and their whole premise is teaching those in communities to empower themselves with the Second Amendment, to protect themselves in situations when they have drive-bys, when they have gang issues, when they have drug dealers, when they have rape, when they have molestation, when they have muggings. They teach people in those communities to empower themselves. But I don't see any Democrats standing up and saying Black Guns Matter, Second Amendment rights. I'm not saying that that's empowering Black people, because you talk about it a lot. But what about the actual things in practice, besides just words, that actually empower people of color?
So you're in favor of more Black people owning and using guns?
To be trained and use their Second Amendment rights and be able to have concealed carry, be able to protect themselves in the streets? 100%.
People are card-carrying, licensed gun owners, and something happens to them, like when they were murdered, like Orlando Castile, that the NRA should stand up for them.
That would be better for America if more Black people owned and used guns when they are dealing with.
I don't think it's that simple. No, absolutely. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think if you put more guns in the hands of anybody in America would be a better place. I don't think it's that simple. I don't think we should be taking the right for anyone to own guns. No one is saying that. No Democrats that I know are talking about the Second Amendment rights. Nobody that I know is saying that. But people that I do know that are people I know are saying, look, we need comprehensive background checks. We need to make sure that, folks who have mental illness, people who have literally been involved in violent crimes before that have killed people do not have easy access to guns. That we need some common sense gun safety reform in this country that is a bipartisan effort.
What about people who have domestic violence charges or felonies?
There are people that have drug felonies, for example. I think when we talk about felonies, I think Black and brown people have been criminalized by the justice system thanks to the war on drugs. And so I think it's easy to say everybody with a felony shouldn't have a gun. No, I think we need to take it case by case sometimes. If they're drug felonies, I think we need to have a separate conversation. But if you have been a domestic violence abuser, absolutely, you should not be owning a gun so you can hurt somebody else.
Should a domestic violence felon?
If you've been convicted, I sit here as someone that is common sense. I believe in common sense gun reform. I don't believe in curbing our Second Amendment rights, but I agree with you. There are areas we can come together on those things. I don't think anyone thinks we should just have guns running around in the streets and have absolutely no tabs on
The
that.
people who committed DV.
That have been convicted of.
Yeah.
But I think you and I can align on this. There are people that have things on their record that maybe are not necessarily fair to them. And so to just block out everyone and pass legislation that says a whole list of people without being able to go through and use discretion on those individuals, I do think that's wrong, because you are taking Second Amendment rights from those that it may not be fair to do so. So you have to be able to use discretion. I think Symone and I agree on that point.
Should marijuana be legal?
Yes. Who don't know that they died from a little marijuana? I'm trying to find out. All I'm saying, okay, I'm being funny, but in all seriousness, in places across the country, in places like Denver, places like Washington, D.C., here in California, marijuana and chips and pork have been legalized. There are Black people and brown people and young people who are currently sitting in jail, who currently have records for just because they had a little bit of quote-unquote weed on them. I think that is crazy. When you've got millionaires and billionaires who literally try to rob this country, brought us to the brink of destruction, and none of them went to jail. So I think we need to go ahead and legalize marijuana. I think there are common sense ways and steps to go about there to do it. I think we need to make sure people that are locked up for marijuana offenses, people that have marijuana offenses on their record, that their records are scrubbed, that they are expunged. And I think we need to have ways for folks that can criminalize by the criminalization of marijuana to now participate in making money off of this
Why is it always when you legalize
originally race-based. So we talk about legalizing marijuana. I talk about race because if I don't, ain't nobody else gonna do it. And I'm just
say, why do you talk about race? Because when we're talking about legalizing marijuana, why can't we talk about legalizing marijuana? Because you think that those that are locked up that shouldn't be locked up because of they have marijuana sales
people
under
are people of color.
I know, but you're saying that's only. Why is not people that have those offenses on their record, we think that they should be expunged, we think they should be able to re-enter society because we think it's bullshit. Then let's have that conversation when you say it's because just black and brown people. What you're doing is you're alienating all the white people and everyone else. Disproportionately affected African Americans.
No, I think that I did, and there are scholars and papers, white papers after white paper after white paper that supports what I just said.
No, that was the Democratic Party.
I don't care who it was. The policy was race-based. The conversation currently, Tommy, is about the legalization of marijuana. You asked
things, that have broken glass ceilings, that have been pioneers for women, for a number of individuals, a number of groups. How come I didn't see the Democrats congratulate Kellyanne Conway for being the first successful female certain people? What about others that are doing great things?
I will just say on Kellyanne Conway, there were lots of people, myself included, I met her in the green room multiple times. We were excited that Kellyanne was there because we thought she was going to roll back the craziness. And then Kellyanne got with everybody else and got just as crazy as the rest of them. For President Obama, sent out multiple tweets about congratulating Sarah, about it's always good to see a woman rise to the top. I would like to see more women at the top of presidential politics and all these arenas in general. I want to make sure those women are competent, capable, and qualified.
This has been an amazing discussion. Please give it up for Tomi and Symone.
Ding, 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 ding.
Thank you very much, folks.
We're let these out fast.
Thank you very much, folks, for joining us and choosing us as your stream of choice. My name is Jen. I'm from Golden State Times. Let me turn this around. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh no, I'm talking to. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm here for the next one.
All right, folks. All right, so we're going to be streaming the Ben Shapiro and Cenk Unger later on today. That's at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. So make sure that you guys join us. We're here live at Politicon, and we're going to bring you guys as many live streams as we possibly can, and also just in case the audio was bad or whatever, we also filmed it. So make sure to stay here at Golden State Times, and I hope to see you guys here next time. If you're new, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Peace.